All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join us this morning. My name is Heather Hoops Matthews. I am with NP Strategy here in McClellanville, and up north, the coast, is Kate C. Watson with me, and she is in the Myrtle Beach area. We're both former journalists who now work with a great group of people across 2 states in the Carolinas. And this is our fourth of 4 coaching sessions that we've been doing this month in April, and they are all recorded and available if you want to go back and catch something, if you missed something, for you to share or use. We don't make a product, so it's our way of trying to give back during this crisis. But I don't know about you, but I am excited that it feels like we are starting to see the light at the end of our quarantine tunnel. And so you will hear us talking this morning about preparing to emerge. I think that is the next step. So what I'm going to do first, if you're new to this, we normally talk about some best practices. Then we go through a little to-do list that we talked about the week before. And this week we'll be talking about telling your story. In the past, we've added on some special things, writing a comms plan, pitching to the media during crisis, but this week we'll end with how to best tell your story. And that is something that no one can take from you. It is unique to you, and you can use it to connect with more people. So let me stop this share and share something else. Let's see if I do this correctly. Okay. One of the great things that I saw this week was from Southwest Airlines. And, you know, when you see this, you know that they are getting ready to probably open back up. So I want you to take a look at the video that Southwest put together. It both shocked me and made me feel confident at the same time, but I really think it's just part of our new norm, our new reality like TSA, and we're going to have to learn to deal with it. If that doesn't play through the whole time, the next time we will just stop.
And it puts out a very fine mist that has a wraparound effect around objects that are hard to reach. So it's very effective in applying in a very consistent and effective manner. We are working hard to develop a cleanliness program that's foundational. When anyone steps foot on a Southwest aircraft, they know that they can expect a very high level of quality when it comes to cleanliness and safety and their health.
All right. As you can see, Southwest is working to create a foundational cleanliness program. I don't know when the last time you flew, but it seems like every time I've flown, there's just been junk everywhere left in the seat from the person before me or in the pockets. And that was just sort of accepted in the way we went. But I mean, this is a complete 180, as you'll see. And I think that's what we'll see going forward. Of course, that's what Southwest says. So they are starting to message that we are ahead of this. And I know even with our team, we're starting to put together webinars on reopening. How do you prepare to welcome people back into your place? You need to be thinking about those things and talking about them now. Even if you are snapping a photo, shooting a video of what you're doing. You know, for restaurants, I know it's going to be tough because you're going to have more space between tables, and that means less profit. But I believe if you show your customers that you are trying to be safe and make them safe, they will come back sooner than if you pack them in. Second thing about best practices that I wanted you to see is if you are not already on LinkedIn, I encourage you to be on LinkedIn. I saw this article, I don't know, over the past couple of days, top 5 reasons a virtual board can actually fuel your mission. And I experienced this Friday. I am on an international board, and normally we meet in Colombia and people from other countries call in. Well, this time we all did it via Zoom, and I was seeing people in the different countries, and it was so exciting. And I thought to myself, the people we can have on this board now, it's endless because they will be engaged. So this article on LinkedIn talked about, how you can leverage the technology more, that you can, this organization could show me a new portal in a better way rather than on the phone or trying to talk through it on PowerPoint. We can actually go through it together, right? It allows you to invite guest speakers in. Again, board members who are not with you, they can be anywhere, and you can expand your board through this. So if you're not on LinkedIn now and you're in business, I strongly suggest you get on LinkedIn and you get active. If nothing more, you're going to learn. It's a resource for learning. The third sort of best practices thing I wanted you to see is the Charleston Forum. Now, I'm a little biased here because one of my teammates, Amanda Loveday and Brian Duffy, who's a lawyer in Charleston, helped found the Charleston Forum, which is a conversation that happens once a year in honor and remembrance of the Emanuel 9 shooting. And that normally happens, obviously, in mid-June when the shooting occurred. Well, they decided to take their conference that they normally have, one-day conference, virtual. And so this weekend started a series of virtual conversations. And so I asked Amanda yesterday, okay, Amanda, you took this thing virtual, and you can see they're live now with Congressman Clyburn. That was Saturday. How did it go? And here's what she told me. She said Saturday they had 200 people live on Zoom, or 200 total people live, and about 1,600 views on Facebook. And she said over the course of the conversation, they only lost about 5% of attendees. So what that says is, number one, more people logged on a Saturday than I would have thought. And secondly, they hung through the whole time. They were fine with it being virtual. Now, Amanda said that they are going to check out and see if there are better days than Saturday, because they are, trying to try this thing out like we are, but it's recorded so you can watch. So she said, as of yesterday evening, there are about 2,000 people who had viewed this. And I asked her, okay, well, what was your total attendance last year in the room? And she said about 600. So do you see they're already reaching more people with technology than before? And this is going to be one of those TSA things. I believe this is lasting, and I really like it. I hope you do too. It does. When you're a presenter, you do see your face, and the older you are, you do have to look at those old wrinkles all the time. So that's the downside. Can't have a face in front of that, hand in front of that. But it is a great way for us to connect. So Southwest Video, use some video. Video is king. We know it's getting 800% more engagement than just a static photo. But if you don't have a smartphone to take some video, put some photos up there, and then consider getting on LinkedIn and going virtual. Okay. Any questions about that? I am going to now share the PowerPoint for today. Okay. Our to-do list every week has been to reach in, to reach out, to retool, and to reinforce by giving back. And those first two, reach in and reach out, are all focused around stakeholders. Those are people that you interact with that can influence or have impact on your business in a positive or negative way. We have encouraged you each week to reach out to 3 and to add 3 more and to add 3 more. So now you should have a total of 12. And I thought about this week, you might consider, do you know anybody who has reopened? And that would be a good person to put on your list to say, hey, how is it going? Can I stop by and frequent your place to help you out? Then you're going to speak from the heart. You'll see, Amanda, actually, I was just talking about, she posted this yesterday. So the Moore Company, which is a real estate firm, provided an ice cream truck for families to come by and get some ice cream. And I thought, what a great marketing idea. Those guys are forward thinking. But Amanda went and took her kids and took some photos and posted it on Facebook. And, the goodwill that they're getting for doing a good deed and supporting somebody who clearly has a food truck. I mean, it's just a win-win-win. So I encourage you to reach in. Who has reopened, who's about to reopen, with whom do you need to touch and say, how's it going? How can I help? To reach out, use social media. Again, people are on it more than ever. The photo on the left is actually out of Ohio. It's my Aunt Susie, and I saw that she posted these cool yard signs that a bank put together. And I thought, now there's an idea that can be replicated, especially if you are in politics. Make some yard signs, give them out. It's going to have your logo on it, and it just says, thank you to our healthcare heroes. Now, if I were the bank, I would have taken it one step further. I would have said, hey, take this photo, please, or take this yard sign. Please take a photo of it, where you put it, in what yard. You don't have to identify your house, but show it in your yard, and then post it on Facebook and tag us and tell us what town it's in. Because she lives in Cleveland, so there's lots of suburb areas, but they would be able to see where all their signs went. And I thought that might be kind of a cool thing. And maybe they're going to, and I just didn't know it. Now, I showed you the Southwest video on Facebook, but this is Southwest post from LinkedIn that's next. And you can see that they talked about, we're used to donating flights to help organizations in need, but this allowed us to get creative, this virus did. And this week we donated 400,000 worth of snacks and beverages. So, all those littles, would you like nuts, biscuits, or, crackers? They donated 400,000 of those to the community. And I thought it's a great way that they, again, they did good, and then they leveraged that good on social media. They're using every platform. Retool. We've had to update this slide over the weeks. You need to be ready to adapt to the new norm. You need to be thinking about restarting and reopening. If you have decided to do something new, you need to be unveiling it and stop doing whatever you were doing that you found you no longer need to do. Fight the urge to go back to the old ways of it's not really that great anymore, and it's not the most important thing. So you have been retooling. Now is the time to come out with what you're doing, but I encourage you to never, ever let innovation in. So let's talk about innovation. On the left of your screen is an article that I clipped from the Post and Courier. And this is a theater, obviously, that couldn't have people cram-packed in to watch movies anymore. So they painted the outside of their building white and then charged, I think it was like $5 or $25 a car or something. It was affordable. And you'll see under the photo all those little dots. Well, there were lots of great photos of all these people, families in suburban, sitting out there and watching movies. And they chose the movies wisely, right? They didn't have all the same type of movie. They had some family movies and other movies that you could go see. Uplifting. Of course, we don't need to see Freddy Krueger from any kind of Chainsaw Massacre right now. I got enough going on. But they chose the movies wisely, and they had a great turnout. And they knew they had to. Because otherwise, companies like that, they're not going to be able to survive. There was a Associated Press article yesterday about reopening and about when the courts reopen and bankruptcies start happening. So it's a serious thing, and we each can do something to help. If I lived closer there, I might have thought about, hey, hubby, let's go watch a movie and just support the terrace. To the right is actually an email that I got from Uptown on Main, which is in Columbia on Main Street. And it is a cute little store where you can buy birthday gifts and graduation gifts, etc. They live off of downtown foot traffic, but of course that has ended. And so they sent this email out, right? That's, again, expresses their concern for everybody. We hope this email finds all of you healthy and safe. And then if you look in the second paragraph, we sincerely thank you for allowing us to help with your celebrations in past years. We are still available to help you with your gifts for Mother's Day, graduation, weddings, birthdays, etc., because they can arrange for non-contact pickup, right? And so if you look then to the right, the second box that I put there for, put there for you to see. She says, currently, I am working on a new website and we'll still have some items at our existing website. I am hopeful that everything will be pivoted shortly. She is retooling her business for the new norm, which will probably be a lot more online buying. And then at the very end, it's Mother's Day, shop local, socially distanced. She is messaging what she is trying to accomplish in her business. And I wish these small businesses well. I know this is very difficult today. You probably know that you can start reapplying for PPP money, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. And so hopefully more and more companies will be able to receive. Always reinforced by giving back. If you don't have this one special organization in which you donate your time, your money, or a word of encouragement, I encourage you to just find one and make it your continual part of life to give back. Because if everybody wasn't helping everybody right now, some people would really be in a difficult spot. Okay, telling your story. And I should pause just for a minute. There's a Q&A box. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand or post something, and Casey's keeping a good eye on that. Casey, before we start with telling your stories, or anything you wanted to add that you saw this week, or anything that could be for the good of the group?
There was actually one thing. First off, I loved the Southwest Airlines. I think that's so interesting, the way that they're doing that. And it shows us what they are doing to make this happen. But Grand Strand, I saw this come across late last night. Grand Strand Medical, it has implemented this kind of video social media series, in a sense, where they're posting a bunch of graphics and saying, are you a pregnant woman wondering if you can be affected by COVID-19? Here's the answers to your questions. I think that's so interesting that Grand Strand has retooled and thought, okay, we're getting an influx of these medical questions. How can we answer them in a massive way? Right. And so they're putting together these. I thought that was so interesting.
Yes.
And so it's just.
Sorry, dear.
No, it's fine. I just think it's so. Now that we're talking about this and looking at this, and you're pointing out so many examples, going back and being on social media and saying, oh, wow, State Farm's doing this now, or how are companies reaching out, and you're seeing it, and it's really working.
Speaking of healthcare, I was reading the Link, which is a newspaper in Chesterfield County that I read weekly for work. And I saw an ad, which I clipped it. You'll probably see it next week. And it's from a healthcare practice, like a primary practice. And it says, hey, would you like to try out telemedicine? Give us a ring. We'll tell you how it works. And so again, like you said, they are pivoting. They know healthcare telemedicine is going to be a long lasting part of our new normal, especially in these rural areas. And, again, for my family, it saved my husband an hour and a half travel last week, I guess it was, or the week before, forget the days. Anyway, saw it happen. And it was pretty cool. So I think you're right about that. Everybody is trying to figure out how are we going to do things differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, telling your story. Again, your story is unique to you. And so when you tell your story, you need to think about, what makes me different? When people ask me about me, I always say, I was raised on a dirt road in Kansas. It's true. It's just who I am. And it kind of speaks to how I've become. You need just to be honest about your story and simple. Don't get caught in the weeds because when you're trying to tell your story, people will lose you if you get in the weeds. So it needs to be honest and simple. There just need to be a couple of key points. What makes you different? One of the things that I think makes NP Strategy different is we have a spirit of excellence. Everybody cheers everybody on to be excellent. There's also this great spirit of we'll do whatever it takes to help Casey succeed. If the sink gets clogged at her event, I'm going to stick my hand in there and pull that muck out, even though I don't want to touch it because I want Casey to succeed. So what are the 2 points when you tell your story? And then you need to shape it now or someone's going to shape it for you. Everybody's talking about everybody online, it seems like these days, or your industry. So if you need to stand apart, you need to be shaping your message. Law enforcement is a great example. there's been this wave of distrust. And so if you're not proactive in shaping your message as a law enforcement organization, you're going to get caught up in the wave of the other. Okay, so your story is unique to you. Be honest and simple. 2 key points. Shape your message or someone will shape it for you. It's sort of like an elevator speech, but I want you to be able to tell your story online. As we do this, I want to flash back to last week because we're going to see what happens when this doesn't work well. Last week, I showed you this slide. It was on the left, the Wall Street Journal article talking about how Crisi got $20 million in PPP money. And there you saw an elected official say it was outrageous. Well, in the middle, you'll see that real people were also saying it was outrageous. And then on the right, remember we went and looked at their Twitter account and their post was, your favorite sides are back. There's lobster mac and cheese. They were getting railed online and they were posting about lobster mac and cheese. And if you remember, this is from last week as well, we said on the flip side, look here, Shake Shack also got PPP money. They got $10 million and they're saying we're giving it back. And in the middle was this quote that said, until every restaurant that needs it has had the same opportunity to receive assistance, we're returning our money. They said, look, we realize big guys like us got it, and there are a lot of small businesses that need it, so we're giving it back. And then on the right, remember I showed you this snipping where a couple of my friends were saying, hey, I'm going to, I don't know where Shake Shack is located, but I'm going there before I go to Crisi. In fact, someone messaged me after this last week and said, I know her, and she is great. Okay, so what's happened since then? A lot. The rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. To the left, you'll see one of the many posts that people started tying Shake Shack and Crisi continued together. Hey, Crisi, Shake Shack is doing the right thing. You should too. There was this online petition with like 200,000 people signing it. And then you'll see NBC News facing furor. Crisi high-end steak chain returns the $20 million in PPP money. But do you think that's the end of the story? It is not. Look to the right. The founder, the grandson of Crisi founder, takes to the internet and starts telling the story of his grandmother founding this organization and that she did it at a tough time in Louisiana history and that she did it by giving back to the community. So what he said is, I salute you for returning the money, but it's not enough. Oh, painful. So what happens next? This is how you got to be on top of who's saying what. On the very far left, this is the slide that I showed you last week, okay? Look at the bottom corner where that arrow is, and it's pointing to the comments. There are 517 of them. At that time, there were 517. Some of them are here in the middle for you to look at. One of them is saying, your mac and cheese post is, quote, tone deaf. I would agree. And then look at the one below that. It says, I don't know who these people pay for PR or how much. And it's not us, clearly, I'll tell you that. But you don't think it'd take an expert to tell them not to go in on the lobster mac and cheese tweets while they're front and center in the news for wrongfully taking deadly pandemic funds. No doubt. In 1 week, look to the right. Their tweet is still up. They have not changed a thing on Twitter. I could not believe it. I was stunned. But look at the bottom. They're now pushing 4,000 comments. I could not clip many of them. They were terrible. People called them all kinds of names. I can't imagine the impact that this is going to have rippling across the country on them. And I don't know why they didn't just say, I'm sorry, we gave it back. You know what? You're right. A lot of times, working with 200 lawyers, when a company's in a crisis, a lot of times you will see them say no comment because they are scared about ongoing litigation down the road. But we tell them that the court of public opinion will kill you quicker than the legal court. And so you can say you're sorry and live through it, that you made a mistake, that you were wrong. and live through it. People will be graceful, especially at a time like this. But if you stick your head in the sand, if you crawl under the table, this is going to happen to you. So if you're a curious cat like I am, go to Ruth's Chris today, see if they have changed their post. If not, see how I clipped this yesterday at 3,700. I bet we're going to get real close to 4,000 today. It is a tough situation. They do have a story to tell. The grandson told it. So why didn't they just say, man, you're right. What happened here? Let's think back on that telling, let me look at the time, telling your story. Again, it's unique to you. It was unique to Ruth's Chris. The woman who started it in New Orleans at a tough time. I would be telling that story right now. We are a resilient company. We were founded at a time like this, and we're going to be strong and helpful at a time like this. Be honest and simple. You know, we've had our bumps in the road, but we're one to get back up. What are the two key points that make your company different? You've got an innovative product. You're trying to find a solution. You'll go the extra mile. And that you need to be shaping your message, or someone will shape it for you. We see this happening. And my goodness, be Googling yourself, your company. Watch what's being said about you. Set up some Google News alerts, something. Clearly, Ruth's Chris knows, but for whatever reason, they haven't acted on social media. And we now know how painful that can be. So when you tell your story, I will encourage you to follow this little outline and put it down on paper. And then think about what images could go along to show what you're trying to say. Because that will happen, whether it's you at work or serving somebody or smiling with someone or providing a beautiful landscape at your hotel or restaurant, some delicious food, whatever it is, to mirror images with the points that you're trying to make, and then start deploying that on social media and maybe asking people, what are your memories of us as well? Now, you might get someone who's mad, and if they, use the F-bomb or something like that, just hide the comment. Don't delete it. Just hide it. But otherwise, you need to let people have a somewhat honest conversation about you. Though, some people can go too far, and there are trolls out there. So be mindful of that. But try to engage with your followers. And I think that they will help add to your story. Any questions for Casey or for me? I'm going to stop sharing so you can see us both. In case you watch that little chat box.
Yes.
It is 10:58, so we have 2 minutes, and we will answer any questions you have or be available to answer offline. But I encourage you to press on. I know we've got a couple more weeks here in South Carolina where we'll be under somewhat of a stricter quarantine, but we are starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. And so if you are running a road race, you can start to hear the crowds at the end cheering and see that the banner that you're going to run underneath, but you got to gut it out for the last couple of weeks here. And we hope you find these coaching sessions helpful. And I wish you the best as you reopen. Case, any final words from you, dear?
Yeah, I think it's, as you've mentioned several times, reaching in and reaching out and telling your story. I think the biggest takeaway for me participating in this with you and being with you throughout all of them is, it is just so important to check within your company, have that open line of communication, check with your stakeholders, but control that narrative in the media. You want to be the one deciding the 5 p.m. headline, not letting someone else decide it for you. I think we really see that with Ruth's Chris. I think it's going to be interesting to see once we get back how all this plays out, because companies like Southwest are getting so ahead of it. And then it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts everyone. But I think there's just such good advice here.
And if you're scared to try something new, I'd say now would be the time. Because while there are a lot of eyeballs, there's a lot of grace right now. So I didn't know if our little podcast thing would fly with Bernie and the buzz, but it has. And so this coming Friday, we'll launch our second podcast, which will be focused on healthcare. And we'll be talking about telemedicine. and some other things. So it's okay to fail. You can't hit a home run if you're not up to bat. And so try something new this week, this month, this year. And if you have success, let us know how it goes. We'd love to help celebrate with you. So we wish you the best. Reach out to us if we can help in the future. And I hope you have great success for the rest of 2020. Thank you, everyone.